Okay, I think we're actually here now. Can anybody give us a confirmation in the chat if we are now live, please? Let's see. Okay, I think we're actually. Okay.
Awesome.
Can anyone confirm? Yeah. Okay, great.
Working?
And
I think so.
Andrew and us.
Oh, yeah.
Boom. Okay, we're up. Thank you guys so much for bearing with us. Holy shit, that was so stressful. Oh, God.
Can people see
They
both?
can definitely, they should be able to see us. Okay, can you guys see both of us?
Sweet.
Now can you see Andrew too? Oh, Andrew, yeah, make sure you close it. Close it on your phone so we don't get feedback. Sweet. Okay, cool. Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Hi.
Oh, my God.
That was crazy.
Yeah, sweaty hands.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, my God. Good job, Ash.
Oh, yeah.
At least just landed a man on the moon there.
Dude, I feel like my face is as red as my hat right now. I'm so embarrassed, but you know.
It's a lot. I mean, just watching you do it, I'm amazed at how many steps there are. There's a lot of like buttons and a lot of like craziness once when something goes wrong. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah, and when something goes wrong, I'm like preparing to get all of this like weird muddled feedback. Like, no, you guys went live, because I know that it creates a new link. So anyway, sorry for all the confusion, guys. We are figuring it out one live stream at a time.
This is our second one. The Andrew's first.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, this is your first ever live stream, right?
First ever live stream. Yeah, definitely.
I think it's our third. We had an interview. Chris McCaskill interviewed us. That was our first one. And then we did that one on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
There's nothing. This is like really breaking the ice. If you don't like being in front of the camera or like vlogging or just would never dream of doing that, just go live and then you'll, get it all over with at once.
It's so different.
It's like being at a rally or a meetup or something like that, but everyone's behind a curtain. They're there, but you can't see them.
Hey, totally.
Exactly.
Also, it gets recorded, so anything you say is like somebody theoretically can watch it like a couple days from now or something like that, which is kind of a trip. I try to like put that out of my mind, otherwise it just like get all frozen up.
Yeah. Okay, so we kind of started, Andrew, before, guys, just so you know, everyone who's watching, Pete, Andrew, and I were just kind of hanging out for about 30 minutes, making sure that we had audio and video working beforehand. Yeah, it was great. But we wanted to know where everyone was tuning in from. And God, you guys are all over the place. This is so cool. We've got people in the Philippines, of course, all over the US. Tim Burke is tuned in.
What's
hey,
up,
Tim, what's up? We're uninvited to your motorcycle rally, Tim? Thanks a lot. Jeez, what the hell?
So many people, man. It's really cool.
I saw Francois out there.
Yeah, Francois is on too.
Yeah, Francois tuned in the other night too.
Tracy.
Andrew, this is just so cool. I love, like, we kind of talked about this before the meeting, but I love that everyone is going to get to see a little look behind the curtain at who you are and hear a little bit about your background. So I
think this is one of, because you do have a couple shows that you do every year. Like, which show you do? Overland Expo.
Yeah.
And what?
Vancouver. And well, I mean, I usually do more than those two, but those are my kind of regulars, I guess. Vancouver and Overland Expo. Yeah.
So because I run into people out in the field, and people who interact with you always remember it. But what's interesting is that because Ash and I and Sarah are the ones who work most of the shows, for a lot of people, we're kind of the face of the company. And so I think this is a really neat way for you, because obviously you're working on new designs and stuff like that. You can't drive all over the country and do events all the time. You got the events you do every year and you see the same people there, but you don't necessarily get out to all the same events we do. And so this is a great way for all those people to kind of see what you're all about, which I think is super cool.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm kind of not really an extrovert either. And so I kind of like to lurk in the shadows a little bit.
But it's great because now you don't have all the people. You're just like in the office chilling by yourself.
Yeah, totally. I do like going to shows though, and basking in all the adulation and whatnot.
I feel like oftentimes it feels awkward because I feel like we get credit for stuff you did sometimes. People are like, yeah, it's a great idea. You guys are so good. And I'm like, oh yeah, that was Andrew.
Well, it really is a team effort. I mean, it so much is. When we work on product, when you guys come back from a month in Asia or Africa or wherever, you have feedback that I just never would have thought of, you know. And because I have two kids, small kids at home, I can only get out for a couple good rides a year, and then day rides and stuff like that, which, as you know, you just can't really like just hit the wall with product when you're using your motorcycle or something like that, like you can when you're out for a month, you know. And then you're like, whoa, this thing is not working, or this would be great if I had this. You know, usually like when we're doing our company rides, they're like a week long. You're not like, yeah, we're pushing our gear to the limit and stuff like that, but I have like all the Mosko gear I need. I have like, now I have a new bike, and you know, I have all the Mosko apparel, so everything's kind of working perfectly. And like a week long trip is great for that, but a month long trip is when shit starts to hit the fan.
Yeah, it's not particularly interesting for you if everything's working perfectly, right? That's not the point.
Totally, yeah. Except the logistics of my life don't really allow me to go away for a month these days.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet. That'll change. Kids grow up.
We're gonna drag you out with us. Yeah, it was cool this last trip, Andrew. Pete and I have never really used. Oh, Scotty tuned in. Hey, Scotty. Pete and I used the Senna devices in our helmets for the first time on this last trip. And it was so great because I usually have this panic when we're riding that I'm going to forget my product development ideas while we're riding. I'm like, oh, I'm going to forget. I got to pull over right now and like peck it out real quick. But now we were just able to call each other, and then we'd chat about product ideas the whole time. Like that was really great.
So we've got, Ash has an itinerary for tonight. I mean, we've got a bunch of people with a bunch of questions, but I think, we wanted to start.
Why don't we tell everybody kind of what our plan is? So I think we should try to shorten our bit at the beginning, where we just like give some background information, chit chat with Andrew a little bit. And then we're going to have Andrew show you guys what's on his design table, like the thing that he's most excited about. So we'll try to keep that pretty short. And then we want to invite you into the meeting. So we'll post the Zoom link for people to join. And then we'll let you guys in one at a time and spend like 5 or 10 minutes talking to each person. And I'll also infuse some of the feedback that we got from the survey. So that's kind of the plan, just so everyone knows.
I have some idea. I have a couple of things I'd like to ask Andrew.
Yeah, great.
Because obviously, Andrew, I know a little bit more about your background than the people watching. So I feel like when I think about you have a very interesting background. Yeah. So, and I want to kind of explore that a little bit. But one of the first things that stands out to me when you kind of tell your story about how you ended up at Mosko, going way back, is that you originally kind of started in the direction of being a sculptor, and you were really kind of an artist. You were trained as an artist, and you really went pretty far down that path. But at some point you made the decision to kind of shift to product design. So I thought maybe having you explain a little bit about, the direction towards sculpture, and then sort of why you made the decisions you did, and how you pulled on that thread and ultimately got into product design.
Yeah, sure. Definitely. Well, I don't think my history is as interesting as yours, Pete, but I've done a few things, I guess. So I think like it occurred to me a few days ago that when I was a kid and when people asked me what I wanted to do, I said I wanted to be an inventor. That's really what I wanted to do. And that actually is what I do, you know, and being a designer within a kind of the confines of a company allows you have a channel for your inventions to go out into the world, unlike being an inventor just at your kitchen table, you know, and then you have this massive hurdle of trying to get an invention to market. But when you're within the confines of a company, then you can actually make it happen, assuming it's a good idea. So that's kind of where I started when I was a kid, was like kind of thinking about being an inventor, and obviously all kids draw and sculpt and stuff like that. And then I got really serious into art in high school and went to art school and did about 3 years worth of coursework in 2 years, and just like really got into sculpture. And I guess I impressed my my sculpture professor, and he had a connection with a guy in Paris, an artist, a sculptor in Paris, who had just contacted him and said, I'm about to start this huge, massive sculpture. I mean, like 100 tons worth of granite and steel type size of sculpture. and I need a good person, do you have a good student who can come, who's about to finish, who can come and help me, who knows how to do things? And so he approached me and said, would you be interested in this? It was actually when I was in first year. And so I said, yeah, definitely. But then that big project fell through, and then so I just kept moving along, and then he got another big project when I was actually ready to finish. So the timing worked out perfectly. And so right after graduation, I must have been about 21 or something like that. I flew to Paris, and then we went down to the center of France in Vichy, where this huge project was being done in the Grand Opera of Vichy. And it was like this big alabaster and granite kind of installation. So I ended up spending 2 years in France working on, well, the first 5 or 6 months was on that project. And then I got along so well with my boss, who's Michael Prentice is his name. He's actually originally an American guy. And we're sort of like fire and ice. He was like fire, and I'm just like kind of mellow. And so we just like, he doesn't get along with a lot of people, and we just like totally clicked. We could totally get along. And I was like the calm one, and he was the one who would just fly off the handle all the time and just scream at people and say inappropriate things. And but we just got along great. We just like did projects all over the place. And so I was sort of acted like, in the art world, I was like his project engineer kind of thing. That's kind of like what my role would have been, along with assistant and apprentice and all this other stuff. And so we did stuff all over Europe, installations, drove down to Carrara in Italy to pick up marble, which is where the Romans got all their marble to build ancient Rome. And like Michelangelo got his marble to do all the sculptures. Like those quarries are still there, and they're just mountains of marble, right? And so they're just cutting into them. And we did a big installation in a palace in Saudi Arabia, in a royal palace there. It was like kind of
photos of all this, Andrew?
Yeah. I mean, they're actual photos. So I
know. I want to see that. I've heard, of course, I've heard some of these stories, but like, God, I want to see the photos. So
some of them are even slides. So I need to figure out how to convert those. But so we did a bunch of cool stuff together. And it was kind of during that time, he was like this interesting kind of mix of a sculptor and a designer, because he would do installations, or I guess you call them, installations in people's houses, where they would do, like, some mega rich person would want a sculpted kitchen, granite countertop, that kind of thing, or an island or something like that. And he would do the kind of thing that would go in a magazine, it was like, or in a coffee table book. It was pretty amazing. And I just loved the way that was kind of the blend of art and design, where he would make it and then people would use it. It wasn't something that you put on the wall.
Yeah.
And one of the curses of being an artist is that you just have to do work and then mount shows, and then you end up with like all this stuff you have to store, because unless you're wildly successful, you can't sell all your stuff. I mean, there's probably like 0.1% of any artist can actually move through their stuff. So I realized I was actually more of a designer. And so I kind of moved more, on that spectrum. If you have artist and designer, and he's sort of here, I kind of moved closer, or, into the design realm, where actually doing products, I just love making things that people actually use. And then the beauty of being an industrial designer is you design something and then it gets duplicated thousands of times, and people can use that same product. It's identical. They can go out and use it and have a great time with it.
Now, when did you get your industrial design degree? Was this after this?
Yep. Yep. So I came back from 2 years in Paris, and then I enrolled in industrial design at Emily Carr Institute of Art and Design in Vancouver, BC. Yeah, and so that was because of my prior credits. That was like ended up being 3 years, but it was like a bachelor program.
So okay, so that was that. Thank you. That was great, and that was neat to add some additional detail to that. So I want to fast forward a little bit to another juncture in your career, which is you finished your design degree, and you were working as a freelancer, which now knowing you makes a lot of sense to me. You started doing outdoor products. I know you were working for companies like Burton and MEC, right, and a couple others. Yeah, designing outdoor products for them. But then you got an opportunity to, instead of being a freelance guy, to go in as a company guy at Dakine, right?
Yeah.
And so the going from being kind of getting out of school with your design degree, being a contractor, working for lots of different companies, setting your own schedule, to then going to becoming a company man and spending almost 10 years there, moving up through the ranks and ultimately becoming kind of senior bag designer. Tell us a little bit about that that kind of second juncture in your career.
Yeah, well, I don't think I ever became a company man, but I don't think. I don't think that's possible. I mean, I was late for every meeting, or I would forget.
You are always late.
Oh God!
It all for this though.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm actually I'm 45, and I'm actually getting better at using a calendar and stuff. So that's, I always claim, like, if anyone gives me flack, I'm an artist, I'm not good at this kind of thing.
That's your excuse.
And yet you were there for a long time, right? I mean, you were there for a long time.
I was, yeah, 8.5 or 9 years, something like that. Yeah, you know what, actually, I think what prompted that was, well, I applied for the job just on a whim, and I got it, and then how could you not take it? I mean, I was designing for Burton and other companies like that, designing soft goods, which is backpacks and things like that. And I was always looking at Dakine's products, like, God, they're so good, and the shape is amazing. How do they do that? And I was just kept referencing Dakine, like, oh, we got to make it like this, and showing Burton and stuff, and Gravis Footwear and MEC and these other companies I was working for. And within that, so I graduated in 2000, and then 2005 I started working at Dakine. And within those 5 years, I also had a couple in-house jobs at design firms doing other stuff like furniture and things like that. But
I just want to say, you guys, like, both, I mean, everyone at Mosko, we talk about this a lot, but sitting here listening to you, Andrew, and tell these stories, it's so inspiring to where I love working with you guys so much.
Oh, I love you guys.
I mean,
I love you guys.
don't tease me. I'm serious. Like,
I'm serious
it is
too.
so inspiring, and like, yeah, it's just really amazing. It's just such a pleasure. Shut up, I'm not crying. I did get, like, my eyes got a little bit sweaty, but I didn't get like full tear. So you went from being a contractor. So you were 5 years as a contractor.
I was, yeah. And I was really living kind of like a dirtbag, and so I graduated and had scholarships and, worked in Paris. And like, I felt like I was kind of like on a good path and career wise. However, I just, the thought of getting a job just really filled me with dread. And like I said, I did do it. I worked in-house in a bunch of places. But it kind of like, I just didn't really want to do it for that long, and so I would kind of like work for 6 months of the year or 7 months of the year. And then when I was contracting, and then just take off and like let go of my apartment or wherever I was living. And then go like down into, I went to the Southwest and built straw bale houses. I went out into the foothills of the Rockies in Alberta and worked on a wildlife preserve. And, I was kind of like, I wasn't finished living like a dirtbag. I just didn't want to get a job yet. And then I think by 2005, I was ready to actually like have a car that ran properly and, not stress about paying rent and things like that. I mean, like, what it's like having no money. You kind of it's great, but you get tired of it after a while.
And were you married at that point? Had you married?
No, but my future wife and I were dating. Yeah, but she was off working and doing all kinds of stuff as well. We were pretty freewheeling.
Yeah, she's sort of a wildcat too. That's a whole nother story. But
Chris Hunt says that he has a Dakine fanny pack in the house, which is awesome.
Who said that?
Chris Hunt.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So the next juncture I'm leading up to is obviously a pretty obvious one. Before we get to that, what were some of the things you liked and didn't like about your time at Dakine? I mean, that was a long stint and a very interesting platform to design and to have products that are used by tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah, definitely. I really learned a lot, and I probably should have done it sooner. However, no regrets about it at all. It all worked out great, but that's something I would tell, like, our intern Jesse. I told him, you got to just get a job, and don't worry about it. Just get a job working for a brand or in a design house and just learn on somebody else's dime and go network, meet tons of people. And so that was what I did. Like my first 5 years there was just so much learning and meeting people. And I mean, you just meet everybody in the industry, you know, and you realize how, even though it's a pretty big industry, it's actually pretty small. You can get to know a lot of people in it. And went on tons of great backcountry ski trips, you know, like paid for by the company because we were designing the stuff. So we were the select few that got to go on the hut trips and things like that.
We're getting some questions about the Wildcat nickname. People are impatient to hear where the nickname comes from.
Yeah. Well, here I have my own personal logo right here.
Oh.
So this was made for me by the sewer at Dakine Lawn, and then one of our buddies who was my co-designer there. He designed this for me when I left Dakine. So this is not actually something that I made myself, but you know, I'm Canadian, so there's the maple leaf and there's a Wildcat there.
We should do a Mosko t-shirt with that for sure.
I would love to. Yeah, we'd have to pay Graham who designed it. So
Andrew, I think it's hilarious that you're like, I didn't design it myself. I did not sit there and
well, it's sort of like when you have a nickname, it has to be given to you. You cannot come up with your own nickname. Otherwise, it's not a nickname.
100%.
Yeah, so the Wildcat nickname came from, I think, the first backcountry ski trip that I did with Dakine. So that would have been in 05 or 06. And all the, you know, my bosses and then all the other designers were there, and a couple of sales guys. There was probably a group of 6 or 7 of us up in the North Cascades. And we were staying in a yurt, and so we would the avalanche conditions were a little bit, you know, considerable. So we had to do kind of one by one, just to make sure if the avalanche did break loose, then it would only take out one person and everybody else had eyes on them. You couldn't all of you couldn't bomb the slope at once. And so I was last on this particular run, and it was just this beautiful open powder run. And so I was watching them all go down, and everybody's just kind of like, you know, making S-turns and stuff like that. And the one sport that I'm native at is snow. I mean, like, I just ski so fast. Apparently, this is what people tell me. I ski very fast.
Quit bragging.
I just do. I love going fast. And people tell me I ski too close to them as well. My wife is always like, get away from me, you're skiing too close. But I like the sensation of speed when you're close to people. Totally. You know, it really makes it feel faster. Yeah. So anyways, it was my turn to come down, and the whole crew of people that I just sort of like started working with over the last few months, we didn't know each other all that well. We're all kind of lined up further down the slope, and they're kind of in a line, and you just kind of like, you know, watch the next person that's going to come down, because what else are you going to do? You're just standing there. And also for safety, you want to keep eyes on them. And I came out of the trees, I was on a snowboard, and it was just this perfect, like the aspect, the pitch, everything was perfect about this slope. And so I just like opened it up. I was going so fast, and I just came down and was just bombing it. And there was some sort of a wind-packed wind crust on the snow, like not where I was, but I just came across it and hit this wind crust when I was at top speed. I must have been doing about 50 miles an hour or something like that. And I hit it, and I just started egg beatering down the slope, like just doing this like super violent tumbling down the slope. But I was like, really, I was sort of like, I knew what was happening. I was like, okay, here we go. I can feel myself slowing down. And then I landed on my snowboard and rode it out. And then there was this one little sapling on the tree, on the slope. There was just no other tree anywhere. And I pulled it out, and I was still going really fast. And I was just about to pull a heel side turn to try and dump some more speed. And I clip this sapling, and I just start egg beatering again. And my goggles fly off straight up in the air. And all my new friends are just lined up, just watching this yard sale just happen right in front of them. And so I think somebody like right after that, they called me Wildcat or something like that, because it just came out of the trees like that. So, and then it just totally stuck.
It really suits you, you know, because it's like you are very have your own, you do your own thing. You know what I mean? And that's why it amazes me that you stayed at a big company for 8.5 years. But it's so perfect for what we're doing at Mosko. And I guess that we want to move a little forward, so we start looking at some product.
Definitely. So I think it would be cool, Andrew, if you share with us kind of what's on your design table right now, or at least the item you're most excited about, and then let's see where that takes us.
Okay. Let's see. Well,
I know you've got a lot on the table right now, so it's hard. We have a new Nomad sitting right here. There's a Reckless 40 in the works.
Yeah, you guys have the Nomad. Why don't you hold up the Nomad?
Totally.
Which is now going to be called the Ranger.
Oh, the Ranger.
Oh, right. Yeah,
That's
I guess this
story.
is not a bad time to announce that we're changing the name to Nomad.
We might as well talk about it. I think those assholes in Holland probably aren't listening.
Yeah, I wonder if they're watching our thing.
We got a cease and desist from a company in Holland. Yeah, that's good. We got a cease and desist. We got a cease and desist from this company in Holland for the Nomad tank bag.
Yeah, the company's called Nomad, and they sent us this angry letter that's like 3 pages long, just basically like, we own the rights to the name Nomad. You can't use it, and furthermore, you need to cover our legal expenses for sending this letter, and you need to show us all of your financial statements, and you need to send us X amount in a fixed fee and then a certain percentage of everything, and you'll be lucky if we don't sue your ass, you know. And that was the thing. It was like just really like aggressive. Like, it wasn't sort of like, hey, we have the trademark, let's have a chat. It was like, we have the trademark and we're going to destroy you, right?
Yeah.
So here's the new, so anyway, that's that. We're changing the name.
Yeah. We're just gonna change it to Ranger. And we batted around a few names, but
it's in the same spot too. The word.
It's got about the same syllables.
Yeah.
So that right there, for people who are watching, that's what we call the silver sample, and so that's why it still says Nomad on it. The next sample that's coming, the next prototype, will be the golden sample, which is what actually goes into production, so it'll say Ranger on the bottom.
This is a good time. One of the comments, so thank you to everyone watching who actually participated earlier today in the survey that we put out. That was really cool to read all the feedback and get some comments from that. And one of the comments was, Andrew, I told you about backpacks. They're like, what, with Andrew's background, I can't believe Mosko doesn't have a backpack yet. You know, what's up with that? Just the Nomad. So the Nomad is currently our only backpack, huh?
This is one of the big edits, right? The new access for the
look
sleeve.
at that.
Yeah, top load hydration sleeve, never been done before.
Well, been done on a tank bag before. How about that?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
and you can fill it without having to take the hydration reservoir off, which is something a lot of people have asked us for. So I think that's a really cool addition to this bag.
Yeah.
Also, new Molly on the front. The
Hypalon panel.
Yeah, so all the Molly panels are being harmonized to that die cut Hypalon, which I think looks really cool, but it's also just, there's going to be less chance of a piece of webbing getting pulled out, you know, and so just hopefully.
It's not really a full redesign on this. It's just sort of like fixing some things, you know, that folks have asked for over the years, right?
Yeah, it's like a refresh. Yep.
Yeah, just like it's like a refresh more than a version 2.
Oh yeah, show them that little the little zipper puller on that pocket.
Oh yeah. This thing actually, you can, when you're traveling, it's got a little wait, how do you get it open? It's got a little SIM card holder.
Oh yeah.
If we can figure out how to work it. Yeah, push.
I have no, there it is. There it is. Okay, cool. Look. So, you know, when you're traveling overseas, you want to pop your SIM card out and put a local SIM in. So I don't know if you can tell. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah.
And your SIM card stores inside too, right?
I got a wallet recently that has one of these little slick pockets.
And it's got the little prong for
See it? Yeah. That's so cool.
Also, the glasses pocket has gotten a lot larger. That's something we got a lot of questions about.
Yeah.
And some other little fix-it things.
So Andrew, what do you have there at the shop?
Well, this is, you know, obviously the cell phone case, the Navigator is up on the site now. So this thing is really cool. I'm looking forward to using this. And then the Pico, the redesigned Pico. So here's another good example of the Hypalon, how cool it looks. You know, and before we had the clear window there, which was sort of worked, but it also kind of got foggy and stuff.
It's way better. So now you put the navigator on the Pico Molly. It's a much more functional system. Having used both, it works a lot better.
Yeah. And then this thing is coming soon. This is one of our test rigs, so it's all filthy. But this is kind of one of the final pieces of the puzzle to the new backcountry panniers, the V2s, is this speed pin right here. And we're still, like, we're just finalizing. Actually, they're just manufacturing them right now. I mean, this thing was just is like hot off the press. But instead of the latch at the top, which was prone to getting banged up or bent or whatever, we're going to have this speed pin. So when you drop it down onto the wedge, it just automatically clicks in and goes into a hole in the wedge. It's just like the bolt on a door.
It's so cool.
It's so
the
cool.
Speed pin. I cannot wait to see these things out there. It's just going to be so awesome to get rid of that latch, and it's so satisfying. I mean, I always say, like, even with the current latch, that it's so nice feeling that dovetail when the wedge and the frame come together and it like clicks in. That thing just like takes it to a whole nother level.
Oh yeah, it just goes thunk and you can hear it. Yeah.
We came up with this, we had the current latch, and then we decided we were going to design a new latch. We found a factory in Asia to work with, and you gave them a bunch of specs and worked with them, and we created this monstrosity of a latch. This is it. And the molds, the molds for this thing, that's a 3D printed prototype. The molds were $45,000 to make this latch, and it has so many moving parts and working parts. And we were all sort of like, well, I guess this is where we're at. And Andrew one day was like, I think I got an idea. Let me try something. And he went to Ace and got a bunch of parts from the hardware store, and took a hand drill, and made a prototype of what you see, that speed pin design. And it was immediately, we all liked it better. And it was just made from parts from Ace Hardware. And it was so clean and easy and field serviceable. And all the parts were accessible and could be replaced. You could totally find new springs, new metal parts. It was just such a better solution, and no mold. We didn't have the $45,000 in molds on top of that, plus all the little moving parts to break.
So really people are wondering if the speed pin is going to be retrofittable. Yes, it will be.
Except they have to upgrade their frames and wedges. So we wish that this would be something that we could send you these metal parts and you could drill it, but it's a rectangular hole.
Yeah.
And you could do it if you were a machinist and you had a milling machine. You could do it, definitely, and contact us if you are. But for the general public, you really couldn't do it.
Yeah, so you'll have to get a new set of frames and wedges. There will be a retrofit kit available eventually.
And we can probably do some deals on those.
We can probably do some deals on those for people who already have like V1s or V2 panniers, but want to upgrade. So yeah.
Here, I'll do a demo here. I don't know if you guys can see.
Yeah, that's perfect.
The thunk. Okay, listen to this. Boom.
And then pull up.
So cool.
Oh God, it's so good.
Yeah.
Tim's watching. Tim got to mess around with this when he was visiting at the shop a month or so ago.
Yeah.
A couple months ago.
And so right here, this is kind of a prototype. Right here, there'll be a webbing pull tab that you can pull on it, and then it just comes right off like that. And there's two, oh man, the thing is on there. There's two holes right there. You can see the small hole and the big hole. These are just for different size cable locks or padlocks. So you can run a cable through there and then around your bag, or you can just hang a padlock on there if you're driving around town and you just want to make sure nobody can get it off.
Yeah, it's cool. As far as lockability goes, we're about to have a bunch of upgrades in that way between the speed pin and then the new locks that'll be available soon.
Yeah. A bunch of custom-made Mosko cable locks, and these are new style locks. So they're sort of like the steel cores. You can cinch the whole thing really tight. Yeah. And they're 8mm thick cable, super burly, except they pack down a lot smaller than the steel cores.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what about the 40, the Reckless 40? Is that around?
Yeah, the Reckless 40 is right behind me here.
And then in just a few minutes, guys, I think we should open up the meeting after we go through the Reckless 40. Let's let a few people in and see what we get. We've got 200 people. I can't believe there's 200 people watching right now. It's so awesome. Thanks, guys.
Crazy. Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. So cool.
Yeah.
So new Reckless 40, this is still a ways off, right? This is probably what, 6 months or a year out. Still.
Yeah, and once we order it and it gets shipped and all that. So one of the upgrades that we're making is these new buckles are split bars. So the bar where the webbing goes through, there's a split in it. So if anybody breaks a buckle, you can sort of use a screwdriver and you can kind of force the webbing off, and you can pull the buckle off without having to cut anything or unstitch it or sew it back together. So we're going to do that right across the line. Switch to these new buckles. I think they're a little bit more robust than the buckles, the ghost eyes they're called, with the two little kind of holes in them. And you can see the MOLLE panel on the back. So I took the goggle pocket off the back, so you can just stick on whatever pocket you want on there. The problem with that pocket was the zipper was very prone to getting messed up because it was just so exposed.
Yeah.
And then the whole bag is kind of compromised. So it's better if we like everything to be removable and replaceable, and everything in components. So that's kind of what we're doing there. And also the MOLLE or the beaver tail, I don't know if you can see right there. See this little clip right here. These things are removable. So you can take the beaver tails off, both of them, and you can run this thing with no beaver tails if you're just dirt biking with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to put my computer down. This is
so for everybody, we get a lot of feedback at shows and online as well from people saying, oh, why don't you guys make a Reckless 50, or why don't you guys make a Reckless 75? What about this size? What about that size? And it's so cool now, Andrew, with these removable beaver tails that you're harmonizing across all the Reckless systems. You can do that. Like with every single one of them, you can like pair it up or pair it down depending on the type of trip you're doing. If you're on like a smaller dual sport or a dirt bike, you can remove the beaver tail and just run the dry bags really lean. Super cool.
Yeah, so go ahead.
Yeah, here, I'll just see if I can do this quickly. The beaver tails also, it's designed so they close this way, so the bag is kind of going transverse. And a lot of people have asked over the years if they can mount a bag this way, because it just fits better on a dirt bike if they want to put a bigger bag in, like the Stinger 22 or just any bigger duffel. And so that's the other added advantage of these removable clips, is you can take the whole beaver tail system off and switch it. Oh, there we go. You can switch it so it's
so one of the main benefits here is that the new Reckless 40 is going to be able to accommodate a larger duffel much easier than the old Reckless 40. So if you want to step up to a Stinger 22 or something like that.
So there, I just took the beaver tails off.
And that beaver tail actually extends, right?
It does, yeah. I kind of need a cameraman here to do this.
You're doing a good job.
Let's see if we can do it. So now this beaver tail can go there. That one goes there, and then this one goes there.
That's great.
So your Stinger 22 goes that way, or if you have some kind of long duffel or something like that, you can run it further off the back, and then it has this extension on it. So you can get an even bigger bag in there. It makes this kind of inner beaver tail get about 4 inches bigger, which is some feedback that we've gotten from a lot of people as well. People who camp out of these Reckless 40s are, ultralight, but they just want like a little bit more room sometimes, which I totally get.
I did it for the first time finally on our last that fall trip in Colorado. I did the Reckless 40.
Yeah,
it was I had to wear the same clothes like the whole trip. I didn't have any of the extras. I didn't bring a camp chair, so I was sitting on the ground, but it was great. I like the challenge.
You had to carry a bunch of your stuff too.
Yeah, we shared stuff.
We always share stuff though. Pete doesn't carry my stuff, Andrew. Don't get me started on that.
Someone just asked on the live chat about the fitment on an 1190, and actually one of the things you didn't mention, but the new Reckless 40 harness also expands. So it now can fit on a larger profile bike. So the old Reckless 40 was really designed for a very narrow, very forward-leaning dirt bike stance, but the new one will fit over a larger adventure bike better. And it actually There's some pre-cut holes to set the width, but you can also melt your own holes to change the angle of the legs and stuff like that. So it has just a lot more adaptability to different types.
Yeah, there's a bunch of, so it's a 3-piece, kind of like the revolver is now. And the revolver is designed to revolve, the legs rotate depending on how it fits best on your bike. And the Reckless 40 doesn't revolve. However, it's got in those underneath where the overlap is, there's a lot of extra real estate where you can pick your own kind of angle or extend the whole thing. And it actually does come with some presets. So the skinniest setting is the sort of where the Reckless 40 is now, and then it comes with a whole nother set that's about 1.25 inches further down if you're going to put it over a wider bike. And we've seen these things mounted on GS 1200s and stuff, so that'll help with that kind of thing.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, I think it's great. It's just so much more versatile. So it's pretty exciting. Unfortunately, it's still a long ways off, but anyway, looks the current design. I just saw it in person.
Okay, I'm
2 or 3 days ago.
Giving people the instructions right now for how to join. So we've got a couple more minutes if you want to go through.
Okay. You want to talk about backpacks a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So we were sort of laughing about this earlier. I'm kind of embarrassed because I've only gotten to this like one kind of prototype level with the backpack, and I don't really like it that much. I'm sort of embarrassed to show it, actually.
I think it looks like a robot. It looks like a cartoon.
It does show us
it looks
the
like
face.
a cartoon
it's
robot.
like,
and it's like he's got a mouth.
It's like
Yeah, I was trying something, and when I used to be at Dakine, we had 2 prototypers just sitting there waiting for work, and so you could be like, okay, let's try this. You just try all these things, and it might take you like 5 days or something like that, and you have all these, you can try all your crazy ideas. And we don't really have that luxury here. We're a much smaller company. So I have some prototypers around town that can help me out, or I'll get our factory to help. But it all just takes so much longer. So I kind of like tried this. This is kind of like a beaver tail idea that you can stow in here, and then you don't even notice that it's beaver tail when it's stowed, and that buckle goes on there. But these buckles don't really work that well. And so anyways, it's I'm going to sort of start again on that. And I'm kind of glad I didn't go too far down that road. But
one of the ideas that you turned me on to when we first started is that you call it the box of disappointments, which is, we have all this excitement about a new product. Like backpacks would be a great example. Like we get out on ADV Rider, we collect all this great information. We have all these awesome conversations with people at shows on ADV Rider, all of our own ideas, all this stuff pours into it, brainstorm, we come up with a concept, do some really cool drawings, looks really badass. We're like, this thing's gonna be sick. We send it off with a spec pack and a couple rough hewn prototypes that we did ourselves, or some local prototypers off to the factory. A month goes by while they work on the thing, and one day a box shows up. And the anticipation is so incredibly high. We're like, we can't wait. We're just gonna like rip it open like it's Christmas morning. And then we do it. And the thing that comes out looks absolutely nothing like what we pictured. It doesn't work at all. And it's the wrong size, and it's weird fabrics, and it's a strange color. And you're just like crestfallen, on that first prototype, the box of disappointments. We're like, oh, the box of disappointments is here. Let's see how it looks.
Yeah, definitely. You think you're at step 5, and then the box arrives, and you're back to step 1 or 2.
I think a lot of people who maybe haven't been through the process as much as you have would get really demoralized by that. And I've learned to just expect that and push through it from you, and if you want a backpack and you open it up and there's a bag with some straps on it, that's a win. You can work with it,
Yeah, definitely. So we do, for anyone who's listening that doesn't know, we prototype here, and we generally like sew stuff here, and I actually carve the shapes of the bags out of foam. I don't have any right nearby here, but I use this like white foam that I run through the bandsaw and carve the shape of the bag and the size and everything. I can hold it up to the motorcycle, or if it's a backpack, I can put it on a person or the dummy that we have. Got our ADV Rider dummy over there. Chubby guy.
Yeah, he's a tubby one. Okay, should we let our first person in?
Let's let someone in. Yeah.
Okay, and guys, if your audio or video isn't working, we're gonna dismiss you from the meeting almost immediately. We're not gonna try to solve technical difficulties. So
nothing personal.
Nothing
we just gotta do
personal.
it to keep things moving.
Christian, it looks like we have audio maybe, but no video.
Christian, you there?
Oh
hey.
yeah.
Hey man.
What's up?
Christian, how's it going? Can you hear us? Hey, can you hear us?
Yeah, now I can.
Hey,
Oh,
awesome,
sweet.
man. How's it going?
Good. How are you guys?
Yeah, not
Good.
too bad.
Good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome.
It's great.
So what
Great
do you
idea.
have for us?
Great idea for you guys. You know, it's interesting to look at that backpack and saying, hey, it's kind of a, a little disappointment on that. But I can tell you that anything that has a couple of main pockets that separates the top from the bottom, where you can actually put some heavier stuff on the bottom, some lighter stuff up there without having to, like a traditional type of camelback type stuff where you have just, a big hole when you need to get to something quick, photo equipment or, lunches or something that's not all sitting in one pile. I like the idea of some of the other manufacturers that actually have a full vest versus like an equipment vest that you sometimes see. And if you look even at military designs, right, they're all pockets. And yeah, they don't look super awesome, but they are really, really, really practical. So if you don't like the look of it, go put a cover on it, because most of us are going to need some kind of a rain cover or a dust cover anyway. And yeah, you can use waterproof zippers, waterproof materials, but I really like the cover and I like it in high vis, because if the weather is crappy, it's really nice that somebody's going to get to see a little bit extra of you.
You were saying you like a rain cover. You mean you like a separate rain cover?
Yeah.
Rain cover.
Yeah. To just stuck, has something that you can put over either for rain or for bad visibility. I have a backpack that we a lot of times has a high vis cover on it. It's a rain cover. We actually use it for dust cover and for visibility when we ride in groups and it's dusty conditions, so the people behind us can still see in the distance.
Got it. Cool. And so it's not so important to you that the bag itself is waterproof, as long as it has some kind of a rain covering.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to, of course, waterproof bags are always good, but creating true waterproof bags over long term, that's really a challenge, right? I got backcountry, the 35-liter backcountry bags from you guys in version 1, and we definitely have used the crap out of it, and the outer shell is certainly starting, to show those signs. And I can just imagine that a backpack is going to be even harder to do, and you want to keep it pretty light whenever you can. Right. So I don't know how waterproof and stable you can make this equipment or that material, meaning stable, meaning for actually running it into the ground a few times.
Yeah, the closures are also tricky. Zippers versus roll tops. Zippers are not really very dependable waterproof closure.
Yeah, that's definitely something I was weighing, was if you do a true waterproof backpack, then it really dictates how it looks and works, and it's hard to get in and out, and you might have to have a roll top or something. But if you do non-waterproof, just water resistant, then you can just have zippers and lots of organization. It actually works a lot better. And then, I don't know, I think everybody has a different opinion on this, but I sort of feel like you're not really going to put your sensitive stuff that needs to be away from water in your backpack. That would go, or you can just roll it up in a plastic bag in there, but it can go in the backcountry.
Exactly. Yeah, just like the concept of the the backcountry bags, right? Where all of your bags, right? Where the outside of it is sacrificial, that if it does get a tear, it doesn't matter. The inside of it is the one that you're actually making waterproof, right? So having a I use lots and lots of waterproof bags, even something as simple as Ziploc bags, right? That we use for specific stuff. I mean, I traveled for, hundreds of miles with a iPad in my backpack, because I still feel that that's one of the safest spots and easy to get to, and certainly not something I want to leave on the bike when I'm stepping away from the bike. So things like that, you just put into a separate bag and double wrap it or do something in there. While other things that are sacrificial, put them on the outside pocket. I don't care if it gets wet, right? And I don't care if it gets nasty. Even if I need to put something else in there, it doesn't matter. It's like a rag or something else that doesn't go into the inside of a waterproof bag.
Yeah.
So
cool. Where are you located, Christian?
I'm in Fairplay, Colorado, 30 minutes from Breckenridge, and we have snow on the ground, which makes being quarantined a lot easier.
Are you going out, and are you doing anything in the snow? Are you like going out and skiing or ski touring or doing anything?
So we're trying to be the good citizens that actually not go ski touring and not have, risk EMS, even though for years we haven't had something happen, but Murphy's Law, right?
Yeah.
Something happens when you really don't need it. So we're doing things like working on the bikes. We had a dry spell for a moment, and we ended up going grocery shopping with our bags and used the Mosko bags to actually put the stuff in. So we had a essential trip in case we would have gotten stopped. So instead of taking the car, we took the motos. It was great to get out. We were laughing, my wife and I, at each other, because it's amazing how after a long winter, a 2-hour ride on pavement is actually exciting. When we we hate pavement. We try to get out of it. So
I feel the same way. I picked up my bike. I was having the suspension worked on, and I picked up my 1290 after having it put back together and rode it home. I was like, wow, this is amazing. I'm going to ride it every time I have to go to the grocery store. I'm riding it everywhere. Lockdown makes everything so exciting.
We built a 1/4 mile single track around our house. It's
on
a loop
property.
on our property. It goes just around the house. It's a 1/4 mile. It's actually quite fun. It's like pretty twisty, and it's got some little challenging bits and stuff. So we've just been doing loops. And you do it in one direction, and then you turn around and do it in the other direction. It's a whole different experience.
Yeah, so I live on 8 acres of forest, right, of aspen trees. And you guys been up near Breckenridge, so those big aspen patches that we have. We built a single track in there. And, I was like, just without cutting any trees down, just moving all the fallen trees down out of the way. And we ended up making it so tight that literally you're breaking out in a sweat on even a 525 bike, right? So now we're going like, okay, we got to actually change it around and, have all these super tight turns. And we're going to make it so that we can get really good balancing practice and over some logs and stuff with the 690s even. So,
awesome.
But again, I have a few Mosko Moto parts, and we have obviously, the bags and stuff. It's been great. It's been great seeing you guys out on certain shows, like at the KTM rally, and, where we tried certain stuff on. It's always a balance on, love to just have a big jackpot and just completely get, outfitted. But reality is that, even a small item becomes really, really practical if it's designed really well. And being, like you guys, being able to have these sessions and inviting, your customers or basically friends to it, it's always cool. I never have a feeling that, you're just one big company that just wants my money and I never hear from you. So kudos to you guys for doing that. It's awesome.
Thank you.
It's truly the community that we are, follow you guys on ADV Rider. Andrew, great designs. I love the whole process of it. I think there's nothing wrong with the box of disappointments because, you guys can learn and stuff. So it's great.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you guys for that.
Oh, my eyeballs got sweaty again.
Oh,
Dang it. I'm not actually going to try, but
still those allergies. You must be allergic to something.
so bad. I actually do have allergies. But hey, thanks. It was great to see you.
Nice to see you, man. Thanks.
You guys, hey, have a good one and be safe out there, everybody. Thanks for doing this. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks for the input, man.
Bye. Okay, wow, so cool. We got to do this. We got to do this more often. I put a note in the live chat and I was like, guys, sorry, we're going to go way past the hour. We'll do this until it's not fun anymore or we get too hungry. I mean, I feel like we should just keep going for a bit. Andrew, are you game?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Cool.
I think my kids are in bed already.
Great. Okay, cool. It's just so, whoa, what?
Hey.
Welcome.
David, what's happening?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing great. I literally just got out riding today out on Frederick, Maryland with my buddy, and he was using his Reckless 40. I had my Nomad, and we were just dying to get out on the trail today. So it was awesome.
Hell yeah, that's so cool. You guys had good weather out there, good trail conditions?
It was cold, but we didn't care. It's all a matter of mind. The trail conditions were perfect. We couldn't ask for better. We stopped off at a stream and just busted out our camping gear and cooked up some coffee and lunch. We didn't see too many people, but we saw a hiker come by, and he just sat and started asking us a ton of questions about our gear, about our bikes, about what we're doing out in the woods on these big bikes. It was awesome.
Right on.
I feel like the interest level in motorcycles right now, like I've been seeing posts online from people that, I know from the past, and I didn't know they had motorcycles. I've talked to a couple people that are thinking about getting their first motorcycle. There's something about the nature of what's happening right here, the pandemic, the quarantine, the social isolation, which is guiding people's minds towards motorbikes.
I tell you, there are people who want to get out and travel and explore, just like Andrew is saying. They're gonna find a way to do it. And you guys are making it perfect for us, more comfortable. Because I look back, back when I was using, everything was wired and I had my old big bulky bags. And now everything is just so convenient and so awesome and so modular. I mean, I absolutely love it. And whenever I take big, long trips, we throw on all our gear and all our toys and we laugh about all the stuff that we had, back in the day. It's awesome. That's awesome. Dusty Wessels?
Yeah, of course.
Dusty and we rode out in Moab years ago. And he's responsible for me getting all my gear because we rented a cabin out in the desert in Moab. And it was me, Dusty, and my buddy Ethan. And he brought bikes down from Denver on a trailer. And we literally rode through the mountains for the whole week. And I told Dusty, I was like, dude, I'm done. I'm buying a big bike. This is going down. I'm selling my other bikes.
That's cool. Yeah, it's so great. Dusty is, we like an amazing dude, man. We're friends with him. He was a really big part of the company, as we were getting it off the ground and stuff like that too. It's been so neat to see him thrive with West 38 Moto.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always give him my bike when he comes to town down in DC, Maryland area, so he can throw all your gear on it. And I'm more than happy to do that. He always says, "You mind if I take your old stuff off and put the new stuff on my bike, or on your bike so I can demo it?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure, go right ahead."
Yeah, cool, man.
Do you have any product feedback for us before we play roulette a little bit and swap to someone else?
So I love the new buckles. I love the new speed lock. I'm always looking to secure my gear because unfortunately, you guys know, there's some places you go that people aren't riders and they're just looking to take gear. So I love the security system upgrades. Mm-hmm. The one thing I didn't like about the old Nomad bag was the susceptibility of the molly straps with the sun damage. They would just kind of disintegrate over time. Mm-hmm. So we have to kind of take in consideration what sun damage does to the products.
Totally. Yeah. So you actually touched on a problem that we had with kind of an earlier batch of our bags where we're using a webbing that was not UV resistant enough. And I think for many products it would have been, but our particular sport is so sun intensive because they're just on the bikes so much that we saw some degradation. And so anytime that happens, we basically take care of that person's product. But we've switched to a UV resistant nylon webbing now.
And now we're going to the Hypalon.
The new one, I don't know if you saw this when we kind of gave the preview, but we'll have these new Hypalon molly panels everywhere on this.
I like it.
Yeah, so that's going to be a nice upgrade for sure.
David, if you haven't already, if you have a Nomad that has that disintegrated webbing, please reach out to Sarah and Jen and Paulina in our customer department and send them a couple photographs, okay? Because
I'll do that. Yeah, I'll definitely
take care of you. Yeah,
we'll totally take care of you on that.
Is there a way? I want to send you guys a picture. It's just a simple picture of I went on the MABDR and I got stuck in the mud with a buddy of mine, and it has the Nomad on the front, but it's a really funny picture.
Send that to me. I'm going to put my email address in the live chat right now. Send the photo to me, but don't send me the product issue email. Send that one to the send that one to the Mosko.
We will take care of you on that Nomad, and if you have any issues with that, reach out to Ash and I directly. But this is a known issue, as Andrew said. We know about that. That was the webbing.
For me, I didn't mind it because really I didn't use those mollies. I mean, they're kind of cute and nice and all, but everything else was functional, so it didn't bother me that much.
Yeah, it's still a bummer, Yeah, we'll anyway. We'll take care of it.
Hey, great to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Nah, man, not a bummer. It's awesome product. All right, I'll send you that picture from the MABDR. You guys will get a chuckle out of it. We went, the MABDR is 1,100 miles, and we were literally 17 miles from the finish without any problems. And then we came around this logging road, and the road was like this, and it had just rained the night before, so it was all mud. And my buddy came up the middle, hit the apex just fine. He went up the hill through the mud, and I was just to the right of him because I was riding too close. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I hit that slant, it dropped me right into the mud pit, and it took us 2 hours to get my bike out of there.
Oh man, send us a pic. Send us a pic for sure, man.
Take care.
It was awesome. All right,
thanks so much, man. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, let's see. Oop.
I want to see that pic.
Yeah, definitely.
David, if you're still watching, post it in the comments if that's possible.
I don't think you can put photos actually. Let's see. Wow, there's a lot of people in the waiting room.
Holy cow.
This is awesome.
I need to have a pee break at some point.
I know, I'm like, damn, I should have eaten.
I've been slugging local beer here. Little plug for Frame Brewery.
We got a Tony in the house, but we don't have any audio or video.
Tokney.
Tokney.
Are we saying this right?
I don't know.
Are we doing this right? Are we doing a live stream properly?
Is it
Okay,
looks
we
like
don't
he's
have
not.
anything. Sorry, buddy. See ya. I'm like, this is pretty funny. You're like, you gotta go. Sorry. Oh, look at who we have there.
Jesse?
Connecting.
Jesse Gregory?
Do we have a Jesse?
We're trying, folks.
Nope, this is the thing where we're like, guys, sorry if it's not working, try again. You can try again. Come back to the waiting room. Okay. Andrew, use a bottle. People want you to use a pee bottle. Oh, hey, people, everybody was like, Ash, we want to see your hair. You do not want to see my hair. It's a disaster. It's growing right now. So that's why the hat.
We got Chip.
Chip, what's
Chip,
up?
what's happening, man? Can you hear us?
Oh, it says you didn't connect to audio.
Chip, we can see you, but
Use computer audio.
you gotta hit use computer. Yeah.
Okay, I'm putting you back in the waiting room. Try again. We'll let you join again.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, not being able to go to the barber, man. Getting long hair.
It's a disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Tony, you there? Tony.
Okay, I'm putting you back in the waiting room. Try again. We'll let you.
Oh.
Okay, close out your YouTube.
Yep.
There you
Yeah.
go. Right on. What's up?
Hey guys,
Hi, what's up, Tony? How's it going, man?
not bad. Wow, I've never used Zoom before. This is pretty cool.
It's pretty badass, right? Our whole company, because of the whole quarantine thing, like the whole company is on Zoom now. Like, so all of our meetings and everything. This is how we do our staff meeting. It's like the Brady Bunch with all the little boxes on the screen and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, we're like all Zoom all the time.
We had our European Joel Bremers, who manages all of our Europe business. He did the whole hour and a half long staff meeting yesterday on his motorcycle in the Netherlands with his cell phone on his handlebars.
What? That's awesome.
It was really crazy, and he like totally participated and like listened and asked questions, and like it was wild.
That's funny. I got in trouble one time because I FaceTimed with my wife with my phone on the handlebars. She did not think that was very cool.
Did you have like had an intercom in the helmet also, or were you just
Yeah.
it's pretty badass, man. Where are you located?
I'm in Salt Lake.
Cool.
I was really disappointed that you guys didn't get to come.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, that was such a bummer. And Tim Burke, who I know was on the chat just a minute ago, was all set up to fly in. He had a plane ticket and everything.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to meeting him.
He's a super cool guy. It was just such a bummer. And at that point, like, we didn't know how everything was going to unfold, you know? And so it was like, we were all like, should we, shouldn't we, maybe, I don't know. And then it was like, does Tim want to go? Well, we want to go, but maybe Tim, we couldn't tell. And then the event and the venue, and is it even against the rules? Like, there was so much uncertainty, like we couldn't figure it out.
And it all happened real fast too.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the whole mood shifted when you guys were down at the Zakar rally, and it was like this Thursday, Friday. I can't remember the date exactly, but it just the gravity of it just really hit on this like Thursday or Friday, and it was like, whoa, we're not going back to work, really.
I don't even think that, honestly, I don't even think the event we were at should have been held.
No.
I had a girlfriend who, Kaylin Benaroya, Andrew, you might know her. She does Dirtastic, and Kaylin had an event scheduled that weekend, and the orders were put in place. So she canceled the event, but ours continued. So we were just sort of
But it was, you know, I think at that
Going
point
with it.
you could go either way as
Yeah.
an event organizer, and I think
Yep.
you
Sure.
know they so and it worked. It turned out fine.
Yeah, we were
You know,
just
it
in
turned
this
out
little
great.
desert oasis all weekend, sort of pretending, okay, this is our last hurrah, you know, enjoying it while we could.
I mean, it's actually like a compound. It's like
Yeah.
containers and like
Yeah.
they've got the guard tower on there, and like we're out in the middle of
I didn't get to go to Zakar this year, but I did go last year for the 2019.
Yeah, cool.
That place is awesome.
It's really cool. They've made
Yeah.
some improvements too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're beefing it up. What's that bike behind you there? Is that a 1190 or 1290?
No, it's 1290.
Oh, that's the 1290
Yeah.
S, right?
The T.
The T.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
With the big ass tank on it.
Right on, man. So have you been doing any riding?
No, I haven't been able to yet. Lockdown.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying not to pass any judgment or make any statements about any of that, and we're also not saying what we're personally do. We're just riding on our property, I guess.
Yeah, we haven't. To be honest, I snuck out. We have access to a mountain bike trail network here that it's not through the main parking lot. It's like we're like 10 miles back and like, you know, 2,000 feet of altitude from the main entry point. So I snuck out there today and rode a little bit and felt a little guilty about it after, because I know it's a little bit against the rules, but I did it anyway.
Tony, do you have some ideas for us you want to share?
It's more of a question, really. I've got a Reckless 80, and putting it away for storage is kind of a pain in the ass, other than just taking the screws out of it.
Yeah.
As far as the legs, it's that big horseshoe shape. I don't know. I was just thinking maybe like the bars that you use to hold the webbing in on those to hold legs together, just to make it easier to take apart. How do you guys like ship those when you go, or have you ever traveled with
Well,
them?
yeah, you unscrew them. Yeah, unscrew them if you have to, and just stack them, the three pieces up. That was one of the reasons we did it, is that you could take it internationally, and also it helped us to ship them in a smaller box.
You know, so Ash and I travel with them obviously all the time, right? Like long for fly-in trips and stuff like that. And when we first switched to the 3, I think Ashley just actually ran out to the shop to get her Reckless 80. I think that's where she just went. But we initially we would take them apart, and then because that was part of the original intent, and then I just started like jamming them together. You know, I stopped taking them apart because it's like once we get over there and we get a bike, and then it's like, I don't know, it's just one more thing to deal with, like the screws, and one more thing to forget. At least when everything's connected, you're like, I got all the screws, all the washers, I got the Loctite. So we put them together and just kind of fold it like this and just like cram it down.
Just cram it in there.
Yeah,
Is that gonna like deform the plastic inside those, or?
I'll post a link to the video. I actually made a video on this last year, but I just take the harness and I fold it like an accordion, like on top of itself, and then I squash it and sit down on this for just 30 seconds, or put my knees on it. Yeah. And then if you take this, I mean, look how small that is.
Yeah, that's a lot easier to store than what I'm working with.
And then shove it in the bottom of a duffel, and it ships so easily.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm all out of breath. I just ran to my car.
Oh, you went to your car?
I had it in my car.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we used to take them apart, and now we don't. But you certainly can do that, and it will take up a little less space if you take them apart. Andrew, we looked at doing some kind of a MOLLE connection system before you came up with the bolt idea, didn't we? We talked about that, some kind of a strap or soft connection.
Yeah, and we had some customers kind of float some ideas past us as well, that there could be some sort of MOLLE kind of thing or webbing that allowed you to extend it and stuff. But the whole thing needs to be just more rigid than the webbing would allow for that. Yeah, the whole thing would shake around. I actually, for travel, I see no problem with folding it over like that. It does red flag a little bit for storing it to do that fold. I'm wondering if when you pull it out in the 6 months later, is it going to be really deformed? It's polyethylene is what's in what the stiffener is made of. So it might sort of relax into that position, and then you might pull it out and there'll be some kind of wows or kinks in it. So I don't know. I'm a little bit worried about, sanctioning storing it like that. I mean, if you really want to store it in a smaller place, I would say the best way to do it is to unscrew it and just stack it up in those 3 pieces, or just hang it on the wall. You have the hole in the middle, right? You have the Reckless 80 V2.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just hang it on the wall pretty easily.
That's what I was gonna say.
I don't know why I didn't think about that. That's a good idea.
We just put hooks in our whole garage, and we've got like all our Mosko gear just kind of hanging up in the Reckless 80, Andrew, just like you said, through the fueling hole.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that, in fact, to your original thing about a quick release system, like that bag takes so much abuse, the Reckless 80. Like that bag takes more shit than like any bag. And I think that it's because of the type of rider who buys it is usually a pretty aggressive rider, and they're going through more challenging terrain. And then you don't have like the injection molded glass filled nylon and the steel rack that you have with a rack system like the Backcountry 35. So everything's being born already. There's a lot of stitching and webbing and stuff like that. But I think anything less than what we're doing there of taking those 2 pieces of plastic and bolting them together with 5 bolts would fail. I mean, it's just like, it's so intense. Like when people go down on the side, I mean, it just wants to like rip things apart.
Well, that thing is really goddamn heavy. Yeah. And it hasn't been able to tear apart the Reckless 80 yet.
Well, that's great. Have you been down on it?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Hey, Tony, thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
That was
great
awesome.
to see you.
Great to see you. Yeah, that's really cool. Thanks for chiming in.
See ya. Okay. So what do you guys think? Like maybe 2 more people, and then we'll do another one of these. I think this is so cool. We will do it again soon. Oh, look at who it is.
No way. The man himself.
Oh, hey. Hi, Tim.
Can you hear us?
Uh-oh.
You're muted.
There you are, Tim. Oh my God. I don't know if you saw this, but it was so funny. The whole live stream last time, there were like 2 people in the chat who were like, where the fuck is Tim Burke? Come on, just give me the Tim. Just give it to me. Just give it to me.
All right, you're on Bluetooth, so I can
open on your, we were getting.
Oh, we're perfect. I can hear you now.
Okay, good.
There's a delay with
you
YouTube.
couldn't hear us.
I feel like I just won like a TV, a radio call-in contest or something. I'm gonna get tickets to Disneyland.
Thanks for rocking the Mosko shirt.
You know what? This isn't planned. I own like 3 shirts, and this is one of them. I've got a Ride More shirt from Upshift, and then there's like a Climb shirt. So you guys, this is one of the.
Hey, that's good company, man. We'll be in that company anytime. That's great.
Where are you?
So in Plain, Washington, which is where the Tour Tech rally is, which is totally coincidence. I'm just using that as a geographic reference. But in an Airbnb over here, kind of riding out the wave. And the only reason that I'm in the States is to be here to get visas for what was next. And then, crap kind of hit the fan and trying to figure out what's happening next as far as travels go.
I mean, when you were down, when we were visiting together in the gorge, whenever that was, seems like a lifetime ago. That was like only like a month ago, right? Is that?
It seems so long ago.
It does seem like a long time ago.
That you were like weren't even sure you'd be around long enough for the Salt Lake City meetup chat. I mean, you were just like, I'm here to get my visas, and now here you are, holed up in an Airbnb in Plain, Washington.
Yeah, no kidding. So. I think when I saw you last, my visa was 3 days away, my Russian visa. There's 3 visas that I needed for these upcoming travels that required me to come back to the States: Russia, China, Pakistan. For whatever reason, you can only apply for your home country. So I came back for that. I actually paid extra to expedite the process. And China got back and they were like, yeah, no, not happening. And then Russia got back to me and granted a 3-year multi-entry tourism visa, and Pakistan got back to me. And that's when, like, the next day it was announced that flights to Europe were being canceled, and then borders were shutting down, and then the economy started tanking. And I was like, oh, maybe this would be a bad idea to be stuck somewhere that I don't want to be stuck.
Yeah.
What did you get from Pakistan? How long of a window?
They gave me a 6-month dual entry visa, which I don't think I'll need, but everything that I've read said that it's an awesome country. So I do think that I'll be spending a few months there at least, whenever that might be. Who knows how this changes travel? Travel might be changed forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
The world, it's not the same world that we knew as recently as 2 months ago. Just hostel culture is going to be different. And, you know, as a traveler, I stay in hostels a lot because it's the frugal way to go. You know, I can't afford a Hilton or a Marriott every night. So I really don't know what the future looks like as far as like round the world travel goes.
It's so true. I mean, I think it's really, I haven't heard that many people acknowledge the fact that the world we return to after this is just not going to be the same one. And so thinking that we're just going to open up the country, open up the world again, and then return to things as they were is crazy. It's going to be different.
I mean, I think that once a vaccine is developed for this thing, I mean, and we don't want to get, this is a deep topic, obviously, to COVID, but I mean, you know, there are lots of terrible diseases out there that we have vaccines for, that we've all been vaccinated for, and they don't stop us from traveling, and they weren't stopping travel before. And it seems inevitable that every so often there'll be a new one, and it'll take some time, but a vaccine will be developed. And I would think that as fellow travelers, like, I feel like we'll be back, we'll be doing the same crazy shit. You know, it's just going to take a little time, and we'll have another vaccine in our systems, you know. But like, until the next one hits, and there'll be some other one down the road somewhere, you know, whatever. But we'll get back on the thing. We'll all be traveling again, for sure.
Yeah. It's just a weird feeling to not know, to have so much uncertainty, and it's really easy to feel bad for yourself and be like, oh, I'm so stressed out. And then you remind yourself there's 7.7 billion other people that are in the exact same position. Everybody on Earth. It's the first time in my memory that I can remember a situation where everybody on Earth was in the same exact position with the same exact apprehension. So it's just really weird. But yeah, hopefully we'll be back to crushing miles soon.
I mean, it's wild that everybody in the world is thinking and talking about the same thing in a zillion different languages.
And everyone
on every
impacted
continent.
in some way. The rich, from the rich to the very, very poorest people in the world, everyone is impacted by this right now.
There is no discrimination.
No discrimination whatsoever. Even if they're not sick, I'm not talking about just the ill. I'm talking about the economic impacts that's filtering all the way through our system. So, it's really, it's an interesting time to reevaluate, isn't it? To think about like what's important in life and what's sort of the driving force behind like everything we're doing. Is how does capitalism have this stronghold on our life? Like, it causes so much fear and uncertainty having all of this upheaval in the world. It's really crazy. You're right, Tim. I think for all of us in our lifetime, this is a very unique moment.
Yesterday looking at the sky, we had this beautiful blue sky yesterday, and there was not one contrail from a jetliner in the whole sky. And we're under flight paths here. There's usually a bunch going north, south, and you know, and there was just nothing. It was very strange, and the clouds were very strange looking, you know, and I was mountain biking last week, sort of poaching some trails that we weren't supposed to be on, and there was visibly more wildlife on the trail, like squirrels and birds and stuff. Like, they're sort of moving into the vacuum that we've left now.
I'm glad to know you snuck out for a ride too, because I was feeling a little about that, but I'm glad you came clean with that.
I decided it was time to start to read 1984 again. I was like, oh, I feel like we're living some weird sci-fi novel right now, like Orwellian novel. I'm gonna read 1984, so I peeled it open last night for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it as even, you know, with like 1 in 7 people in this country unemployed right now, and probably going to more like 1 in 5. But then you think at least, you know, we have some social safety net and stuff here. I mean, our factory in Bangladesh is closed for 6 weeks, you know, and they're living on much lower wages than your average American, and with no social safety net at all, and no savings, you know, totally hand to mouth. So it as bad and as rough as it seems for us in the developed countries, I think what some of the folks in these developing countries, some of the places you'll be traveling through, I mean, what an interesting time if things do open up.
Oh yeah.
To be out in the world right after this will be absolutely fascinating.
Hey Tim, people here are asking if you have any input on gear. Like, there's some questions about let's see, what's your setup for running Mosko bags and toting around a DSLR plus lenses? And then, yeah, just any input on Mosko gear. They want to hear product development ideas from you, who's probably more miles with our gear than most people in the world.
Could we do, just in case people aren't familiar with who Tim Burke is,
Yeah.
could you give a shout out so people who maybe don't know who you are, they could find your Instagram or just kind of get a quick familiarity with who you are and what you've been doing?
Yeah, for sure. I'm a pretty everyday schmuck and not that good of a motorcycle rider. I just like riding motorcycles, but I'm not that good at it. I was bouncing around the country, around the US for a while. My background is in aviation management and got a commercial pilot's license, but my internship was actually in airport management. So I've been bouncing around the US managing different airports, and then I found myself in the PNW up in Seattle for the last few years. And I wanted to drive my motorcycle. Riding on the weekends wasn't enough. So I asked my boss for 6 months off, and he laughed in my face. And I said, I thought that I had him by the throat, because I know how government agencies hire. And I was like, it's going to take you 4 months to get the job posted. It's going to take you 3 months to go through the process. It's going to take a month for someone to move out here. It's going to take another 3 months to train them. I'll be back ready to hit the ground running. I have institutional knowledge of this airport. I just need 6 months to get this out of my system. And he's like, we don't do sabbaticals. And I was like, all right, I quit. And I did. So I shipped my motorcycle to Europe, did 6 months, learned that you don't just get it out of your system. I lasted 36 hours in the US because it was a round trip ticket. My plan was to come back to like responsibility. And turns out I'm not good at that. So within 36 hours, I was over the Mexican border heading south. I did Central and South America with the mentality that I was going to get back and return to real life, and that didn't work. So then bounced around doing different motorcycle trips. Then I just got done with Africa and Europe, and had to come home to get visas to start heading east. And that's kind of where I am. I've been using Mosko gear the whole time. I used the panniers and the Nomad tank bag, which I guess isn't the Nomad anymore.
The Ranger.
The Ranger. Remind me which tank bag I just switched to. It's the big, not the Pico. What's the bigger one?
The Hood, yeah.
The Hood. So back to talking about photography gear, I'm experimenting. I'm trying to keep my camera in the Hood tank bag, and it's working out pretty good. I found I could only keep my camera in one lens in that tank bag, and then I have to keep one in one of the side panniers. What's really cool about soft panniers is that it cinches down on itself, so there's not that much free play in there. I just put it on something soft, and the lens bounces around. Typically, my setup is a Pelican case that I have mounted on the back of the bike, and it's surrounded by pick and pluck foam. So I could customize the foam to the shape of my camera and its lenses.
That's so cool. I got to do that.
Yeah, it works. It works pretty good. And after, 3 years, or I've been using that system for 5 years, it just becomes muscle memory. I'm pretty quick at jumping off the bike, pulling out my camera gear, getting the shot that I want, and then zooming away on the bike. So that's typically what I do. But right now, yeah, I'm experimenting with the Hood tank bag, and there's definitely benefits to having it right there in front of your belly.
Yeah, the quick access of that tank bag is just so awesome. The one click and you're into it, instead of having to, and it's waterproof. You don't have to worry about fiddling with a rain cover if it starts raining. Someone just asked in the feed too, oh God. So a few people have asked, where's Nat? Okay with Tim, where's Nat? And what else? Asking, there she is.
Drinking boxed wine and a couch.
It's so great.
That's awesome. And by the way, on the phone, the camera inserts thing, Andrew and Ames have been working on some ways to incorporate some foam inserts for the Hood to make it specifically to make it camera compatible. Like if you like sort of an upgrade option for a few extra bucks, you get this kind of foam insert that's like shaped and it's either pick and pluck or you carve it out yourself or something like that.
That's really cool. And I'm not a drone guy, but I think the drone people would really like that. You know, the drones fold up really compact right now, and maybe people would like, if they want to keep their DSLR and their heavy lenses in the panniers or in a Pelican case on the back, the tank bag might be the perfect size for the new DJI drones or whatever it is that people are using.
Yeah, I haven't started traveling with a drone either, but I'm curious. I saw Nat has one, right? So you've been playing with hers?
She does. One of the things to keep in mind with drones is different countries' regulations ban them. So Nicaragua, for example, they'll just take it and throw it in the trash right in front of you. There's a few countries that they're outright banned. So there are some people that get creative in how they get them in. I'm not going to endorse that or criticize that. Do what you got to do. But it's just something to keep in mind as you travel. You know, one of the biggest pieces of advice that I have about traveling isn't, people are always expecting advice about tires or gear or security stuff. And like the biggest piece of advice that I have is to familiarize yourself with the destination's regulations, because something as simple as a drone can get you tossed in jail. Taking photos of the wrong government building in countries that don't have the First Amendment, freedom of speech, that'll get you tossed in jail. So if you're going to be carrying photo gear and traveling, just keep that in mind.
Yeah,
it's true. Oh my God. That just reminded me, last year in Ethiopia, we got through this checkpoint and I didn't realize that it was till like right before a bridge. It was a checkpoint to keep people off of the bridge. They had one on either side. So I zoomed off from the checkpoint after they held us for a while and then proceeded to get off my bike on the bridge to take photos. And they were all freaking out. Pete's like, what are you doing? Get out of here.
I would never do that.
Come on, everybody's in it. I've had my camera taken
so
for that. You know, I had the soldiers take it, and then you get in this long ass argument to try to get it back, and you know they want you to delete the photos, and you know I think that's everybody's done that.
Yeah,
and we all
for sure. I'm just trying to make myself feel better.
Tim, it's so good to see you.
Man.
We gotta reschedule that Salt Lake meetup.
Definitely, or somewhere else. That would be really cool. And I'm just going to pitch it while I have an audience now. I'm waiting for the koozie cup, the Mosko Moto koozie cup that floats on the side of a tank bag.
We want that, Andrew. We want that. The koozie.
Yeah, okay.
And hey guys, anyone who's watching right now, someone in the feed asked about how to support Tim. I've pasted a link to his Patreon account where you can follow up, and I'm going to paste that again into the live stream. But yeah, there's tons of ways. Getting a calendar from Tim. He's got all kinds of offerings on Patreon, so check that out. Tim, it's really good to see you.
It was really cool chatting with you. Thanks for having me.
See you soon. Yeah, bye.
All right, that's cool. That was unexpected. That was neat.
Okay, one more person, and then we gotta call it a night. But we're definitely doing this again, like real soon. I mean, I think this should just be a regular thing. Like maybe we do it once a month or something.
Let's do it.
Okay.
All right, last one. Oh, I know who this is. JM.
We don't have any audio yet, but it's
from
coming.
Thailand, right?
Huh? Thailand, yeah.
From Thailand. Can you hear us, JM?
There he is. We're definitely doing this again, like real soon.
Oh, you got to turn off the YouTube.
Be a regular thing. Maybe we do it once a month.
Turn off the JM. You got to turn off the YouTube.
He's working on it, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
How's it going, man?
Hi.
Hey, hi Ash.
Hi, good to see
Hi,
you.
Pete.
Hi.
Hi Andrew.
Hey, Jam.
Yeah.
How is it? How are you? Oh man, we're good.
Good,
We're good.
good.
My leg is better.
Yeah, I can tell.
Fill
Yeah.
everyone
You've
in
been writing-
the backstory.
So
there.
I'm just going to give everyone a little bit of backstory on how we all know each other. So JM was on where were you headed from and to on that trip? You were on like a 3-month trip in the US, right?
Yeah, I was on a 3-month trip. I tried to do most of the BDRs. I was also, doing a bit of the CDT, the Continental Divide Trail, and also Transamerica Trail. Where I could link up, similar routes, I would do. So I started in Durango, Colorado, went up all the way north to, Wyoming, Idaho, into Canada. The highest point north was Jasper. Then I came back down again. Then through Washington State, the BDR, then that's why I ended up at your place for a couple of days. And then through Oregon, you gave me all Dave Wack's GPS tracks, which were very, very helpful. I mean, that was really a highlight of the trip. And then, Nevada, California. And then I parked my bike in Borrego Springs and I flew home.
So I should point out, you're chiming in from Chiang Mai, Thailand right now, right?
No, I'm in Khao Lak, just an hour north of Phuket. My wife was already at the beach with my daughter. And, when we saw that the lockdown was coming, my son and me, we hopped on a plane and we flew down to Krabi. And then my wife picked us up and we're at Khao Lak, which is a little surfing town north of Phuket. So my kids can surf, during the lockdown, and we're just chilling out here till we can go back home. So we're about 1,000 miles south of Chiang Mai.
So JM came through, visited us at the shop, stayed at the Mosko office, helped us put some parts on Ashley's bike, and we talked routes and just all hit it off. And then when I broke my leg, was that 2 months ago now? About 2 months ago in Laos, and posted on Facebook about it. JM
FaceTime, or he called us on Facebook Messenger. And so literally we're in the hotel room, like we hadn't even gone to the hospital or anything yet. We're still trying to figure out what the hell we're going to do, how to get an x-ray for Pete. And here's JM on our phone and he's like showing us around. He's like, guys, just come stay with me. Here, look at my house. I have bikes, I have cars, and we'll put you up and take care of you.
And he said, great hospitals, obviously in Chiang Mai, great international caliber hospital. So I ended up going to Chiang Mai and hanging out with JM and staying at his house and going to the hospitals in Chiang Mai, getting the cast put on. And we got to be pretty good friends. I thought that was really cool. And then JM was nice enough to loan me a car. So I while I was recovering with a broken leg, I went and drove around northern Thailand. So. And
you spent quite a bit of time riding with our gear, JM. And you just got, what did you get? So you got a Navigator, and did you get a Pico too?
No, I got the Nomad.
Oh, the Nomad. And you have a new Reckless 80 as well.
Yes, I got the new Reckless 80, which unfortunately I've only been able to fit on my bikes, but I haven't been riding with it. I must say the revolver system is brilliant. You can make it, fit so tightly on each bike. On the Mosko Moto Riders group, I posted a few pictures, where I put it on a big Honda Forza, on a Honda CB 500 road bike, on the Supermoto KTM 525, on the KLX 250. I pulled a bunch of bikes out of my garage and I could fit it on all of them, and it fit brilliantly. Like there was
just a couple.
It was that whole revolver system where you can adjust the angle of the legs is absolutely brilliant. And like I said, Andrew has a box of disappointments, but he should also have a box for all his gold medals. Because if there were an Olympics for bag designing, then Andrew, he would rack up one gold medal after the other, because is brilliant.
Thanks.
I always call Andrew the bag when he's not there. I don't know if I do it in front of him, but I call him the bag wizard.
yes, he definitely is. I mean, it's unreal, and the versatility of the system is great. And now that I just saw that the R40, you can like the beaver tail, because I was thinking of. I'm glad you guys already did it, because that was one of the suggestions I had about the beaver tail. Because, when I ride in Thailand off-road, we ride a lot in the jungle, of course, single track, you want to keep the bike as narrow as possible. So like, I would prefer to have like just a beaver tail, and then so I could put a dry back lengthwise on the back of the bike. So it's not sticking out on each side, because you really got to keep it narrow when you're in the jungle, because there's all these vines and branches and stuff. So it's really important to keep the bike as narrow as possible. And that's why I like the Reckless system, because it doesn't have frames, it doesn't require a frame. So it keeps it narrow, keeps it tight. Also, it concentrates the mass, tight on the bike. So, it's the best way to go off-road riding. As you know, my whole trip was about riding off-road. And so for me, the Reckless system is the way to go. I cannot imagine ever going back to a system where I need frames.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, it's a great endorsement, man. It was so neat to see that the whole community of riders there kind of centered around Chiang Mai, and like hear about some of the trips that you guys do, and Justin, and just meeting Grace and all that. I was just really cool, man. It's just really neat what you guys have going on over there.
Yeah, and my gear review of the R80 Revolver version 3 will soon appear in Adventure Motor magazine together with my trip report.
Oh, great.
So it's already, I've sent you a copy, and Paul Smith has already signed off on it. You know, he edited, sent it to headquarters. So that'll appear soon. And the trip report should also come up in one of the next issues.
Cool.
It was a great trip, and I was glad, to be able to help you out, because you were so good to me when I was in White Salmon.
Oh, I'm so glad that came together, because I remember everyone was trying to get a hold of us. Pete and I can be really terrible with emails sometimes, because when we're traveling, it's just difficult to keep up with the in-person and also email at the same time. So I think 3 people had tried to get in touch with us, and then finally we got a phone call from who called us? I don't know. It was someone from maybe Pablo or someone from ADV.
Pablo, it was
Out
Pablo.
to us, on our cell phone, and we were in Colorado. Remember, we had just run into Court Butler there at that taco place, and we're like, hello, and they're like, we're trying to get a hold of you. These guys are going on a trip and they need gear, and we've been sending you emails, and we're like, yeah, sorry, we're not on email right now.
Road, yeah.
But I'm glad it worked out. Otherwise, none of this would have happened.
Yeah, Pablo and me, we were driving to Durango. We were coming through Cortez when the GS Giants meeting was going on. And so you guys were there. But since you hadn't replied to my email, I thought okay, let's forget it. It's not going to work.
All right. Hey, next time you come here, now we have a house, we have a guest room, we have the toy hauler, place to park it, we have lots of room for camping, we have everything. We can put you up a much higher level of accommodation than is not the futon in the Mosko conference room.
Oh God,
I was already planning on taking you up on it this summer, to come with my son, because he was going to borrow his mom's cross challenge. And then so we would ride up to the Rockies again. So, but now, with the pandemic, it might not be possible. It all depends when borders open up again. I mean, there's no way we can fly to the US. And
we'll all just be playing it by ear for sure.
Even worldwide.
I think we got to sign off here soon.
Okay.
But we got to do this again, and please join us. What time is it there? Is this an okay time?
Now it's almost 11 o'clock in the morning on Friday.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, this seems to be, you can never nail it just right with the timing for every time zone to have a friendly time, especially that's not during work hours too. But this time seems to work out.
How long have we been going?
A long time. But it's so good to see you. And we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Jam,
okay.
Really good.
Bye.
Come visit us. Come visit us.
See you guys. I will.
Okay. See you.
I think nobody has regular work hours anymore.
Yeah, it's true. No one has regular work hours, but I still think that it's kind of important to do it in the evenings when it's not supposed to be work time.
I like this time. I think it's
good.
Yeah.
It feels, I don't know, it works for us anyway too. Because if it cuts too much into the workday, then we're not doing regular meetings or.
I feel like I could sit here and do this all day, honestly. They're pulling people up. I mean, I feel terrible that there were people waiting to come on. And
I know, but it's okay. We're gonna do it again. We'll just do it again. I mean, I said once a month, and people are like, no, twice a month, 3 times a month. So clearly, there's demand for this. We still have 150 people watching. So it's not like it dwindled down, and we've been going for a long time now. So
I really
it's really cool. Andrew, so cool.
Andrew, you're the man.
Thank you everyone for joining us.
Thanks everyone.
And we'll see you again on Tuesday. We're doing this every Tuesday and Thursday. It'll be a different topic. I'm gonna paste a link right now into the live chat to the page where you can see the entire lineup. But we'll be doing this as long as it's fun, basically. I don't know when we'll stop doing it, but anyway, thanks guys.
And do we have are there some questions and stuff from the survey that we'll answer?
Yeah, I think we just can bring that into the next meeting, and we'll just keep rolling all of this stuff over.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone.
Okay, bye.
Bye.